Hi, it's Jeff Altman, the Big Game Hunter, and welcome to Career Coach Office Hours. It is Friday, May 13th. I need to check the time there in case you didn't notice. Friday, May 13th, 2022. And Tuesdays and Fridays at 1 p.m. Eastern, I take a little bit of time to answer questions from people that I've received in advance of the show or during this show in order to help you with job search, hiring more effectively, management, leadership, anything work related. I do it because frankly, I know people need help. And from a job hunter's perspective, the skills needed to find a job are different than those needed to do a job. Sounds obvious, it is, but most people don't act that way. And they don't have people that they really can go to for advice. Wife, husband, partner, former manager, people like that are great up to a point. Unfortunately, often you get advice that's kind of limited. So I take some time twice weekly to field Q&A from people. And if you've got a question for me, you can put it into chat. I'd be very happy to answer your question. Now, I start these shows with a coffee toast. Yeah. And today's toast is for the man who's out front now with my wife, who's going to plant a huge bed of flowers and shrubs because I don't have the time to do this. And an acknowledgement to Greg for making the time, doing the work as he's done for us for the last 11 years. He's been great. So to Greg, thank you. And it's 65 degrees where I am. It's absolutely gorgeous out. And again, if you've got a question for me, put it into chat. I'd be very happy to answer your questions. I've got a bunch of them today. And the first one is, are the emails from Indeed saying X employer has invited you to apply for Y job real or automated? The answer is yes. They're both real and automated. The employer has been notified about you. They've said, sure, have them apply. And thus, Indeed is trying to make it convenient and easy for you to know that a firm is actually interested in you. So, by all means, do apply as long as you know that the job is appropriate for you, obviously. And good luck with that. That wasn't so hard, was it? How do you approach your first day on the job when you've been hired to be the boss of others or hired to be the manager of others? First thing is get to know everyone. Now, if it's a 250-person department, that's not going to be so easy. You're probably working through subordinates or leaders or managers within the department. So let's say you're the director and you've got managers reporting to you that allow you to talk with, work through them to get results. I think you start by managing by walking around and talking to people. Get a sense of what their background is like so that in this way, you're learning and not just coming in like a two-tongued gorilla trying to make changes out of the blue. That never works. Siobhan, I'll be with you in just 1 second, okay? That never works. So what you do is start noticing. And when they start asking you for advice, you can say, have you done it in the past? How did that work? Didn't work? Let's talk about it. What didn't work? And you go through that way. Did work? Great. Keep doing it. And that makes it easy for you. So don't make radical changes. Learn and notice and take the time to get to know your people first. Now, we've got a question here. Hello. I was placed with a company by a recruiter, but things didn't work out. I was only there for a month. Does that look bad on my resume? Usually, yes. And as a result, I wouldn't necessarily put that on the resume. I would there's going to come a point pretty quickly where you're going to have to show you're out of work. But when you're only at a company for a month, it opens up a conversation that's unpleasant. What's unpleasant about it? What happened? Why didn't it work out? Was it them? Was it you? They're going to tend to believe it was you more than it was them. So I would duck the conversation by not even bringing it up that you work there. And then in a couple of months, let me just say, hustle to get a better job, hustle to land. And the reason I say that isn't so much about gap in the resume. It's more about the economy is starting to shift. And for all the stories about the great resignation and the great reshuffle and all the stories about how many jobs are out there, I think we're coming up on the end game of this pretty soon. I don't know exactly when, but I've been telling people recently that it's important to try and land soon with some version of institution that you think could ride out a bad recession. So hustle, get involved with a new firm quickly, and work hard and make yourself indispensable. Own your job there. I think you know what I mean by that. So that in this way, they'll find it harder to lay you off. And if they do, you're getting great references from them, from your manager, from their manager, from everyone you worked with as an indispensable person. So get to work. Get to work at finding work. Okay. I hope that was helpful to you. And if there's more, feel free to put it into chat. I'd be very happy to answer it. Another question I received, and I'm recording this, as I said, on May 13th. Person wrote, I interviewed for a job on April 29th, sent a thank you letter on May 4th, got a reference check email from the HR department on May 5th, responded the same day and both references have said they filled out everything they needed to complete. Should I send another email to the interviewer or to HR asking if they need anything else from me, and if so, when? The answer is now. Do it now. Once, I don't know when you spoke with your references. For all I know, it was yesterday, but we don't know that. So I would send an email that says, I understand you were able to successfully get everything back from my references. It would seem like you're interested in making an offer. What have your thoughts been about compensation? And try and engage them that way. Really, you understand that the references got back? Yes, I spoke with so-and-so and so-and-so who I provided as references, and they indicated they completed forms. Have you received them, first of all? And if so, what are next steps? Have you been discussing what the offers, the salary offer would be, and start engaging that conversation in order to see what they're talking about? Frankly, I would have done it sooner and not put yourself in the position of waiting an extra week. By the way, Siobhan says, yes, that's what I thought. The company knew that I wasn't skilled in the area, but hired me anyway by promising to train me. You're very welcome, Siobhan. I hope I pronounced your name correctly. I'm glad I could help. You don't need to tell people stories about that experience. Let it go. Move on, land somewhere else. Good luck to you. And if you need advice, come back Tuesdays and Fridays at 1 p.m. Eastern. Continuing on, why do employers prefer employee referrals? The answer is it's like having a reference check built into the recommendation. What is a reference check? A stranger is interviewed for a job. After they've interviewed, we're interested in making an offer. We want to see if anyone will say nice things about them and their work. That's a typical reference check. And they cover a couple of different classifications of information, but fundamentally, we're interested in hiring this person. We want to talk to someone and confirm that they don't suck. So, what is an employee referral? Before interviewing, a person says, "This individual doesn't suck." This seems like a good thing, right? And it is. So they prefer that because, as they say in social media, it is provided social proof. We're providing social proof that a person is qualified to do the job. That's a good thing from an employer's perspective. They get the idea that you work hard, are diligent, and all those great qualities that employers like to have in staff. And with that, they have the idea that you'll do a good job, blah, 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 blah. And you're welcome, Shivana. I pronounced your name correctly. Yay. So it's the recommendation that basically says, this person's qualified, you need to talk with them, or you should talk with them. And they do, and thus they got the recommendation at the beginning rather than at the end. The next question from someone is, how long do I need to stay to earn my sign-on bonus? Well, first of all, good for you. You're getting a sign-on bonus. Yay! Woohoo! And I know this circumstance, it's someone that I coached, and one of the things, the offer came in better than what he was earning, but, the offer basically covered inflation. And he was actually looking for like 5 to 10,000 more. So I said, if they're not able to do it, ask for a sign-on bonus. It often comes from a different budget line, and sometimes firms are very willing to use a sign-on instead of more in the way of salary. I'm not going to go through the reasons for why. And they came in with a $10,000 sign-on, and he now asks, how long do I have to stay? And my answer is whatever it says in the offer letter, because it'll be in the offer letter where they'll say when they're going to pay it to you and what you need to do to fully earn it. So I don't know the answer. It'll be in the offer letter. Let's go to the next question. As a computer science student with no internship, how can I improve my chances of getting a well-paid job? I worked with someone previously who was a student, graduated, had knee surgery, so he was incapacitated for a period of time after his January graduation in 2020, started to be able to get mobile, and then lo and behold, pandemic. And the entire labor market near where he was shut down, just like it did all over the country. So what did we do? Well, after knocking on lots of doors and getting close to offers and not getting across the finish line, I suggested that he try and get himself certified in what his core technology was. As a result, what he was able to do is demonstrate through his certification he had baseline knowledge, then interview, and then get hired. So if there are things that you can get certified in, by all means, you should do it, and that'll help you stand out. Got another question in chat from Sharan Kamal Singh Ahuya. I'm not going to try pronouncing your last name. If you can phonetically spell it out for me, I'd appreciate it, because I hate being rude in mispronouncing someone's name. Are there global companies who look for good administrators? Cost-effective administrators or facilities managers for their international real estate portfolio, or does everyone just focus on marketing geniuses? How do you find such organizations? Now, you're writing to me from LinkedIn. I'm sure there are firms that do this, but from an operational perspective, it's a head of a function rather than the person who's looking at the local level. There may be regional individuals who are looking at facilities management and procurement for those facilities. There may be people looking on a global perspective, but they're providing a high-level perspective. I'm sure you can identify people on LinkedIn. who do this kind of work. And from there, I would try to get an informational interview scheduled with them to talk with them about what their background was when they moved into these roles. And in doing so, the idea is to engage in conversations with them to get a sense of what you need to know to qualify for those roles. If you don't know how to do informational interviews, I have a new course on my website, thebiggamehunter.us, about informational interviews. I think it's launched at $15 to purchase, and you can rent the course as well for like $7.99 or $8.99, something like that. So if you go to thebiggamehunter.us/courses, you can find out more about that there. But you need to talk to people who are doing this kind of work to learn what you need to know in order to be qualified for these roles. Because you want to do it doesn't make you qualified. There's, I'm sure, steps that you need to master to get close to these roles, to prepare yourself for these roles. Okay. So I'm just going to remind everyone, if you've got a question about job search, hiring, management leadership, or want advice about a workplace issue, put it into chat. I'll try and get to it in today's show. Also, at my website, thebiggamehunter.us, you can schedule time for a free discovery call, a coaching session, visit my blog with more than 12,000 searchable posts, find out about my courses, books, and guides. As I mentioned, I have a new one on informational interviews. I have others about interviewing in general, final interviews, answers to top interview questions that firms ask, and more. So visit the website to learn more. Also, I'm going to mention jobsearchtv.com on YouTube. Subscribe. It has more than 7,000 videos on it that answer a variety of things about job search, hiring, management, and leadership, but with an emphasis, as you would imagine, on job search. Also, my podcast, No BS Job Search Advice Radio, more than 2,300 episodes so far, over more than 11 years. It is the OG in the job search podcast space. No show is close to me in terms of numbers of episodes. And when I stop, no show will be close to me in terms of numbers of episodes. It'll take years for them to catch up from what I'm seeing. So again, subscribe to jobsearchtv.com. No BS Job Search Advice Radio is available on Apple Podcasts. Spotify is a video podcast. Amazon Music, Google Play, generally anywhere you listen to podcasts. Let's go to the next question. Should I put banned from Twitter on my resume? Well, I'm not going to get into the politics or the story about how you got banned from Twitter. But what do you think you're going to accomplish by putting that there? I can't figure it out. If you want to go to a conservative action group, if that's what you got banned for, is conservative politics, by all means, put it on and start contacting those organizations or see if they find you. But I don't really see a big benefit for you to put that onto your LinkedIn profile. If you can explain it to me, what your thinking is, by all means, maybe I'll reconsider. But for now, I just don't see it. Let it go. Now, if you got arrested for climate action because you're a climate warrior, some people in firms will be impressed by that, but not banned from Twitter. Okay. The next scenario is I've had 3 virtual and one on-site interviews that could not have gone better. Was offered the job after salary and start date negotiations, was introduced to the staff as the new network architect, was told the offer letter would be sent to the recruiter, then was turned down for the role the next day. What happened? There's a couple of possibilities here. Number one is, you know, a level or two up may have decided that they didn't want to hire you. I don't know why, but there could have been something that got communicated where they didn't want to hire you. Could also be that they did a reference check, because I'm not seeing evidence of a reference check in everything that you was talking about. They did a reference check and someone did you dirty. That's the most likely of the options. It could certainly be they couldn't get approval for the money, but I tend to think it was a reference issue. So, what I would say to you is message them, say, I'm confused. I know, I had great interviews, got an oral offer. We had discussions about the start date, was introduced to the staff as the new network architect, and now I'm turned down. What happened? Well, and they'll give you some excuse. Try and get to the truth. What do you mean? That doesn't make sense. Could you try explaining it to me a little bit differently and see if that causes them to say something different? Okay. Good luck. I would bet on references, and I hope that's not the case. Is a job mentioning a fast paced environment good or bad? Yes. And it could be ordinary. Depends on what you're used to. Now, when I think of fast-paced environment, I think of busy. Lots of work to do. Generally, lots of work to do. Every office that has lots of work to do always has slack times. But I can't judge whether this is good or bad for you. What I can judge is that people are busy, they work hard, they try. And as a result, if that's not for you, because the most important thing to you is work life balance, then not for you. Okay? How do you avoid hiring the wrong people for your startup? Well, you can get recommendations from people who you know who will say strong things about them. And that will cause them to arrive with a recommendation and endorsement. Excuse me one second. What I would also do is take the time and come up with standardized questions for people to ask that will make people hit a baseline of knowledge and experience that will cause your staff not to recommend the wrong people. And you can meet with the people that you're going to be involved with, who are going to be involved with the interview process, and say, this is what I'm thinking about this job. What do you see we really need to have in the way of experience? And you listen for a while and then ask, why do you think we need that if it's not obvious? So you can learn how they think and offer advice to them. Standardizing your interview process around questions will help avoid making knowledge-based mistakes. And by that, I mean mistakes where people just don't know what you need them to know. Like, for example, Siobhan was in the unfortunate position where they knew she didn't have the knowledge that they needed, promised to train her, but hung her out to dry. Don't put yourself in that kind of a situation as a hiring manager where you overpromise and underdeliver. Turnover right now is at 30% within 6 months of joining an organization. 30%, 3 in 10 leave within 6 months. They're not sitting still for your crap. So the long and the short of it is you need to get clear. You need to be in a situation where you know what it is you need someone to know. You're specific about it. You figure out ways that you can screen for it. You're completely transparent about what it's like to work there, because surprises won't be good for them, and then they'll leave, and you don't want that to happen, do you? So be open, be honest, be persuasive, answer their questions honestly, and get everyone on board with how to evaluate people to determine if they're qualified for your firm. I'm just going to remind everyone that if you've got a question about job search, hiring more effectively, management, leadership, and more, put your questions into chat. I'd be very happy to answer them. Also, at my website, you can schedule time for a free discovery call, a coaching session. Go to my blog with more than 12,000 searchable posts about things, job search, and more. There's just great information that will help you professionally. And I'm going to remind you to subscribe to jobsearchtv.com on YouTube. I also have an app by the same name on Amazon, so you can watch me on your big screen set and watch me there. Also, my podcast, No BS Job Search Advice Radio, is #1 in Apple Podcasts. It comes out 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. And you can listen to me through your buds or watch me on Spotify because it's a video podcast there. So in audio form, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Google Play, pretty much any of the podcast networks it's available through. So subscribe there Monday through Friday. You get podcasts from me. Let's go to another question. How do I use LinkedIn the right way to get noticed by recruiters? My guess is that your LinkedIn profile is not keyword rich. And the result winds up being you're not being found by them. Now, you could certainly have a unique background that no one needs and no one wants to hire for. That happens regularly. But the long and the short of it is, you need to have a keyword-rich LinkedIn profile. Maybe include your your email address in the About field on LinkedIn. So this way, people can message you when they have something appropriate instead of spending $15-ish per in-mail to reach out to you. So make a profile that's keyword-rich, and then think that you want people to contact you. There's a field called About. Put your email address in there. Maybe say something like, if you have questions for me, reach out by email to, and then give your email address. Okay? I'm going to do one more question today and head off for an okay afternoon, okay? Does it look bad if your resume was clearly made by a standard template from Microsoft Word? The biggest issue with the templates from Microsoft Word is they use frames, and some applicant tracking systems have a rough time digesting frames. So what I would do is mimic the template, but not use it. Have everything positioned in the same way as the template, but not use the template, because if you're applying for something using an applicant tracking system, it's going to cough a lot. It's going to have a rough time digesting it. And the result is your resume will get kicked out. No one's going to input it. You're screwed. So that's today's show. I'm going to do a quick check to see if anyone else has put a message in. Nope, that's today's show. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did and you're watching on YouTube, click the like button, share it, do something that lets people know it was worthwhile. Also, if you're watching on LinkedIn, you can do the same thing. If you're seeing it on my Facebook page, Jeff Altman, the Big Game Hunter, do the same thing there. Share it, leave a comment, do something that lets people know it was worthwhile. Also, again, my website, thebiggamehunter.us. There's a ton in the blog that will help you. Plus, you can schedule time for a free discovery call, schedule time for coaching, find out about my courses, books, and guides. There's a lot there to help you. I'm also going to mention, connect with me on LinkedIn. and linkedin.com/IN/the big game hunter. Have a terrific day, and most importantly, be great. Take care.